Hi everyone, and welcome to Spiritual Formation Saturday with Amanda. It's so good to see you today, and I hope that you have had a great week. Interested to know what your practice was like this past week with the centering prayer. I know for myself, I found it a little bit challenging to find the time, and not to find the time, but to make the time. But I did a few times, and I noticed that I was very distracted, and yet I also felt very close to God in those distractions too, because God created us the way that we are, and God knows that my brain moves fast and I get distracted, but I believe that God loves me, not in spite of that, but because of that. He's created me that way. This week, we are going to be looking at another spiritual discipline, and this week is looking at rest. And for some of us, we think that rest means on our day off, instead of going to work, we need to clean the bathroom, and we need to go get groceries, and we need to do. Our to-do list is very, very long. And so our rest days that are intended to be rest days turn into our to-do days. It's something that we do when we're not at work. But what would happen if we intentionally looked at rest and not as something to do, but as a way to be? So in her book, the one that I have been talking about, the Spiritual Disciplines Handbook, Adele Calhoun talks about rest. And when we burn the candle at both ends, she says that we lose sight of what we enjoy in our work. That we find even the things we enjoy doing become a chore. We fail to give people the gift of our attention and presence. And that's painful to hear, because that's really true of me. It impairs our ability to hear God's voice and discern God's movement in our life. We become obsessive about our to-do list, and we lose touch with the human limits that are meant to keep us in touch with God. And so in this practice, she encourages us to look at a few things in our lives. She encourages us to look at what exhausts us or keeps us working past our limits. When and where do you most deeply rest? And who helps you rest? And what is it like for you to set aside time to play? How regular is that time? So what she encourages us to do in this book, and I think that this is something that's really helpful, is to write down what a day of rest and recreation would look like for you. Your perfect day of what you would do. So for me, that would include a hike through the woods. It would include listening to music. I would also find spending time with my family on that list, doing something that we enjoy. So that might be playing a game, or that might be watching a movie together. Those are things that I find are restful and recreational, because sometimes we get very legalistic in what we think rest should look like. And we think, well, if we're doing something, then that's not rest. But rest isn't going to a spa. Rest isn't taking a vacation. It can be, Don't get me wrong. I love vacation as much as anybody else does. But it's definitely not something that is feasible every week. So we need to find a way to do that in our lives. And I really love the idea that rest can be playful, and it makes me feel like rest is accessible when I look at what my perfect day would look like. So she encourages you to write down what your perfect day would look like, and then to schedule it onto your calendar and do some of it, or do all of it, or do what you can. But take some intentional time to rest. And I think for myself, I am going to plan a time to go for a hike this week because I find that so relaxing, and I don't do that near enough. I think when I'm in the forest, I think, wow, why am I not doing this more often? And so that is what I plan to do this week as a way to find rest. And when we've completed that day of rest, check in with yourself and check in with how you feel about who you are, about who God is in your life. Think about how and where God was for you in that time of rest. Do you feel reconnected? Do you feel like you've found a way to commune with God and find rest and Sabbath within yourself? So that's it for this week. I hope that you have a wonderful week. And if you have any feedback about Spiritual Formation Saturday, give me a call at the office or send me an email at amanda@queenstbaptist.org, and I would love to hear from you. Thanks. Bye.